Imagine a tax where you didn't pay with money. You paid with your son. Across villages in the Balkans, Ottoman officials arrived with lists. No accusation, no crime, just a name and a child between 10 and 14. One of those boys was taken from a Serbian Christian village sometime in the early 1500s. His name was Sokolu, though that would not be his name for long. He would be taken, converted, renamed, and trained, not to serve his family, but to serve an empire that erased his past. This was the Ottoman blood tax, and for centuries it turned stolen boys into imperial power. The system was called Devshirme, literally the collection. It was law, not chaos, not raiding, not war. Ottoman officials traveled through Christian villages, usually every few years. They targeted boys typically between 8 and 18, but most often 10 to 14, young enough to reshape, old enough to endure. Only Christian families were eligible, Muslim households were exempt. City boys were often avoided, considered too clever, too independent. Roughly one boy was taken for every 40 households. Families reacted in desperation. Some hid their sons, some married them off early, some paid bribes. There are even accounts of families injuring their children to save them. Escape was rare. During the marches to the capital, a few boys ran. Most were caught. Some never appeared in the records again. Sokolu was among those who did not escape. He vanished from his village and entered the machinery of the empire. The Ottomans understood something unsettlingly modern. You cannot buy loyalty. You must manufacture it. The boys were separated. Their languages were forbidden, their names replaced. They were converted to Islam and circumcised, not as punishment, but as a permanent marker. There would be no return to who they were. This was not framed as cruelty, it was framed as transformation. The empire did not want obedience built on fear alone. It wanted dependence. Sokolu learned new words, new prayers, a new name. His former life was not to be remembered, because memory itself was considered a threat. Some boys resisted quietly, some broke, others adapted with frightening speed. Identity was the first casualty. From here, the boys were divided. The physically strong were trained as Janissaries, the Sultan's elite infantry. No family, no inheritance, loyalty only to the Sultan. They were feared across Europe. The most intelligent boys were sent elsewhere, the Enderun's school inside the Imperial palace. Languages, administration, strategy, science. Sokolu excelled. He rose through palace service, then military command, and eventually became Grand Vizier, the most powerful position in the empire after the Sultan. He commanded armies, he shaped policy, he spoke with imperial authority. But he owned nothing, not even his future. He could rise higher than any man born free, yet remain bound to the system that created him. As boys, resistance was almost impossible. As men, it became inevitable. The Janissaries realized their importance. They resisted reform. They overthrew sultans. They became a state within the state. Some lived wealthy lives. Others vanished from history. Some helped destroy the system that created them. In 1826, the Ottoman state turned on the Janissaries and massacred them. The machine consumed its own architects. Sokolu never returned home, but he never fully severed the past. He quietly funded bridges and churches in his birth region, acts of remembrance he could never publicly claim. He served 3 sultans, he stabilized the empire, he prevented wars that made him dangerous, In 1579, a man approached him posing as a petitioner. The man concealed a dagger. In a single moment, Sokolu was killed. Even the most successful product of the system was never safe. Power could be granted. Security never was. He did not return to his village. He was buried in Istanbul, beneath carved stone and quiet arches, beside his wife, not as the taken boy, not as the imperial architect, but as a man who gave his life to a system that never fully belonged to him. The Ottoman Empire believed it could turn human lives into policy. For centuries, it worked. But the cost was paid quietly by boys who never went home, and men who ruled everything except their past. If a stolen child becomes powerful, does success erase the theft? History never answers. It only remembers who benefited. If you want more forgotten history like this, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.